In Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan is sent to Utapau to defeat General Grievous. Prior to these events, Palpatine had campaigned with the Jedi Council to let Anakin go to Utapau, but this was quickly rejected. What resulted was Palpatine revealing himself as a Sith Lord and turning Anakin Skywalker to the dark side. So what if Anakin went to Utapau with Obi-Wan to fight Grievous? This would change the timeline immensely, and through this one small difference, a ripple effect of changes would occur. Obi-Wan and Anakin exit hyperspace to see the subterranean planet of Utapau before them. As they land, they are greeted by the leader of the Poor Ants, who is pleading for help against the notorious General Grievous. The Jedi's senses are filled with the robotic movements of the droids. Grievous was near. As they headed towards the source of their senses, they found him, the tall, demonic, and inhumane robot standing in the center of his droid army, commanding them with terror. Leaping to the ground, they both ignited their two sapphire blades in the nauseating humidity. Their mission was to defeat General Grievous, the leader of the droid army and wielder of 4 lightsabers. The fight began with the clashes of their blades. Grievous fought with hate and anger, looking only to destroy the Jedi and add more lightsabers to his collection. But the issue was that he couldn't keep up with the combined strength of Obi-Wan and Anakin. Anakin was the chosen one, and his lightsaber dueling abilities was almost the best in the Jedi Order. Grievous would not last long in this fight. Anakin pressed his attacks further, desperate to find a way through the droid's defenses. He had been trained by Count Dooku, a Sith Lord that Anakin had already killed, and now he wants to end his apprentice. Anakin applied as much pressure and aggression as he could until he sliced through Grievous's robotic hand. In a quick and deadly motion, Obi-Wan saw an opening. With a swift maneuver, he feinted to the left, drawing Grievous's attention and then struck a powerful blow, shearing through the cyborg's defenses. Grievous's body slumped to the ground, his lightsabers clattering on the barren soil. Obi-Wan's final strike was swift and merciful, resulting in the death of General Grievous. In the aftermath of General Grievous's death, the cavernous sinkhole of Utapau seemed somehow smaller. Obi-Wan gave his former Padawan a measured look. There was something noticeably off about Anakin. His usual calm demeanor was replaced by an anxious energy that had been palpable during their duel. Obi-Wan told his apprentice to explain what was bothering him. At first, Anakin shrugged off Obi-Wan's concerns, telling him he was merely focused on the battle at hand. But Obi-Wan was too wise to succumb to such a weak excuse, and explained to his apprentice that he had known him for too long and can feel when something isn't right. They were not leaving the planet until Anakin told him what was bothering him. Obi-Wan was persistent, and after much persuasion, Anakin finally caved. Looking up, he explained to his master that he had been having dreams, premonitions of the future that resulted in the death of a loved one. The Jedi twitched at the mention of these nightmares. They were consuming and driving him crazy. Obi-Wan spoke in a calm manner. He asked Anakin if these dreams had anything to do with Padme Amidala. Anakin was taken aback and stumbled on his own words. He couldn't fathom an answer for Obi-Wan and stood there perplexed. Obi-Wan eased the silence through explaining that he had a strong inkling of their relationship for some time. Through this realization, Anakin admits everything to his master. He explains how they were married, Padme's pregnancy, and how he was terrified that she would die in childbirth. Obi-Wan, the wise and experienced master, was able to bring solace to his apprentice by explaining that premonitions can be misread. Things aren't always how they seem, and the Force is known to play tricks on the mind. Obi-Wan assures Anakin that they will confront these fears and protect Padme from whatever evil lies ahead. Although this didn't thwart Anakin's fears and concerns, he found solace knowing that he wasn't facing these fears alone and knew his master would do everything he could to help him. The bond between master and apprentice grew exponentially after this confrontation. As the two returned to Coruscant, Obi-Wan continued to assist Anakin with his nightmares of Padme. Using his status as Jedi Master, Kenobi would travel to the restricted section in order to find any pieces of information he could on how to save people from death. Unbeknownst to him, the knowledge he was looking for required the dark side, and Obi-Wan was too pure of a Jedi to search through ancient Sith texts. Because of this, he struggled to find any suitable knowledge that would help him save Padme. However, Jedi texts clearly outlined to him that the Force was not always correct and sometimes made errors when predicting the future. This brought some peace to Anakin as he slowly began to realize that Padme's fate wasn't set in stone and he could save her if he desired. After a few days of being back on Coruscant, Anakin was called into the Chancellor's office. This confrontation would go very similar to Revenge of the Sith. Palpatine would reveal himself as the Sith Lord who orchestrated the Clone Wars, and Anakin would quickly exit the room without giving Palpatine a proper answer. But where the story differs is who Anakin tells. After explaining his nightmares and fear of loss to Obi-Wan on Utapau, Anakin felt like he could trust him more than anyone. So instead of telling Mace Windu about Palpatine, he opted to explain the truth to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was a Jedi who did his best to remain loyal to the Jedi Code. Because of this, Obi-Wan tells Anakin that they must inform the Jedi Council and get their opinion on how to proceed in this situation. If they made the wrong move, the galaxy would fall into the hands of the Sith. The scene quickly changes to the council chambers in the Jedi Temple, where Anakin and Obi-Wan stand in the center of the circular room with the wide eyes of the Jedi Masters staring at them. Anakin speaks first and explains what Palpatine told him. After all, it was his mission to spy on the Chancellor and understand his dealings. Despite this being the most important information that could end the Clone Wars for good, the Jedi did not seem that surprised. They had suspected this for a long time, but now it was confirmed. But what the Council wished for Anakin to do was something he had never expected. Windu spoke in a controlling but assertive tone, explaining to Anakin the dangerous and deadly task he was about to embark upon. Anakin was to embrace the shadows, walk the treacherous path, and deceive the very man who sought to manipulate him. He was to make Palpatine believe that he had succumbed to the seductive pull of the dark side, to gain his trust and uncover his true intentions. The Council understood that if he rushed and arrested Palpatine now, they would have no evidence against him and could possibly result in the Senate siding with him over the Jedi. They needed to be patient until they could successfully save the Republic. Anakin found himself in the opulent setting of Palpatine's office. A sense of trepidation coiled within him, yet his demeanor remained steady. He had to make the Sith Lord believe in his allegiance. Palpatine was behind his desk, a satisfied smile playing upon his lips, revealed in what he saw as his triumph. Though he still found this to be too easy, Anakin wouldn't join him without any protest, or perhaps his fear of losing Padme was that strong. Nevertheless, he had to test his new apprentice's allegiance in order to secure his claim to the dark side. He motioned towards a hologram of Cato Nemoidia, the heart of the Trade Federation's influence, and the current location of Jedi Master Plo Koon. Sidious informed Anakin that to prove his loyalty, he must go to Cato Nemoidia and kill Plo Koon. Without a moment's rest, Anakin accepted this challenge. As Anakin's ship descended upon the planet's surface, he made sure to inform the Council what he was doing. He had no desire to kill innocent people. The Council told Plo to evacuate their base and protect himself from Skywalker. As Anakin's ship swooped over Plo Koon's base, he released a volley of explosives. Flames roared to life, consuming the structures in an inferno of destruction. Anakin's gaze lingered over the scene, his heart aching for the necessary deception. At the epic center of the explosion, Plo Koon stood resolute. As the world around him erupted in flames, he reached deep into the wellspring of the Force, forming a protective shield around himself. The inferno roared at the edges of his barrier. Heat and debris battered against the sphere of calm he maintained. Plo Koon had survived, but the Council still declared him dead in order to fool Sidious, who now believed his prized pupil to be submerged in the dark side. Palpatine had restored his faith in his apprentice and knew he was ready. Back in his office on Coruscant, he explained to the boy the inner workings of Order 66 and how it will be used to eliminate the Jedi Order. That was tonight. He pulled out his comlink and executed his plans. But as Clone Commander Fox appeared on the hologram, Anakin ignited his blue blade in defiance. Sidious's anger was painted across his face. Slamming his comlink to the floor, he ignited his crimson blade. He told Anakin that his treachery will cost him his life. But as the Chancellor motioned to lock blades with Anakin, the doors burst open to find Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Kit Fisto barge inside, their weapons each depicting altering colors. Anakin was not alone in this fight. Anakin was the first to lunge, his blue blade clashing against the Sith Lords in a burst of raw power. A surge of determination coursed through him, fueling his resolve. This was the pivotal moment in his undercover mission, the true test of his loyalty. As Anakin grappled with the Sith, Windu, Obi-Wan, and Fisto joined the fight. Their lightsabers sang through the air, a chorus of defiance against Palpatine's dark designs. Fisto's green blade danced in fluid sweeps, his swift agility evident in each powerful stroke. Obi-Wan's blue blade was a relentless force, the Sorcerer Master holding the defensive line. In a swift move, Palpatine managed to land a hit on Kit Fisto, causing him to fall to his knees, defeated and dead. But his fall did not break the resolve of the remaining Jedi. Windu and Obi-Wan redoubled their efforts, creating openings for Anakin to strike. The Sith Lord was a force to be reckoned with, his attacks fierce and calculated. He moved with a cruel elegance, his blade striking with deadly precision. The fight was brutal and intense, the air sparking with the energy of their clashing lightsabers. With a final decisive move, Anakin managed to find his way past the Sith Lord's defenses. His blade struck true, effectively ending the reign of Darth Sidious. The room fell eerily silent, the only sounds being the heavy breaths of the surviving Jedi and the quiet hum of their lightsabers. In the wake of the conflict, a palpable sense of relief spread across the galaxy. Within the polished walls of the Kaminoan cloning facility, the Jedi began the meticulous process of removing the inhibitor chips implanted in their clone comrades. And with each successful procedure, the Jedi offered their brethren a choice: to remain as part of the galactic army or to retire, free to lead their lives as they saw fit. To the Jedi's heartening surprise, most clones chose to stay, their loyalty undiminished. With the full support of the Jedi Order and the widespread approval of the Senate, Bail Organa was appointed as the new Chancellor. His first actions were imbued with his deep-seated respect for peace and democracy. After years of war and uncertainty, the galaxy could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The Clone Wars were over, the Sith were vanquished, and the dark cloud that had hung over them had been lifted, and in its wake, the promise of a brighter future was right in front of them. Meanwhile, on the peaceful world of Naboo, another joyous event unfolded. Padme Amidala, the beloved senator and secret wife of Anakin Skywalker, gave birth. The arrival of their twins, Luke and Leia, was a beacon of hope and love amidst the end of the conflict. Anakin and Padme, standing on the threshold of this new era, looked upon their children and then each other. Love and contentment was reflected in their shared gaze, their connection deeper and stronger than ever. The Sith were vanquished, the Clone Wars were over, and a new era of peace had begun. And at the heart of it all, Anakin and Padme Skywalker lived, loved, and cherished their happily ever after. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Anakin Killed Obi-Wan on Mustafar, or What If Anakin Went with Mace Windu to fight Chancellor Palpatine. Please be sure to check out our membership program in the description below. It is $1 a month and helps us out immensely. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.